What we're doing is important. We are actually telling the truth. And I don't think a lot of people understand that. We're not partisan. We're not beholden to any political party. We need to have our political representatives to be not village idiots like Barnaby
Yeah.
Joyce, for example, but village elders.
Yeah, and
These people are intellectually
accountable.
accountable.
Yeah,
And that's what I've tried. We, I think, have tried to do the right thing. Tell the truth.
yeah,
Our facts, even though we've got a progressive view, you can reference our facts with live links back to where we got them from. We're
that's right.
telling the truth.
That's
And,
right.
we're doing the right thing. We're different
Radical.
from everybody else.
That's so
Well,
radical,
I mean,
Dave. Telling the
it's so,
truth. What?
it's so not radical, but
Wait,
it's,
isn't there another version of that? Like, shouldn't we always have two sides to the truth?
It's actually hard journalism, which says we'll work on facts. We may have perspective, but you'll notice everything is resourced and referenced in independent Australia. So if we're saying something, we say where we got it from. There's not that much baseless opinion.
Well, because it's got an impact way above what it appears to be. And I know that for a fact because a few years ago in the election, whenever it was, 2019, I had my personal vendetta against corruption and decided to start a political party called, and again, an anti-corruption political party. We only really publicised that in independent Australia. We got sufficient people to get that party and form it. And then the Liberal Party changed the rules and made it that you had to have 1,500 people. We went back to the readers at IEA, announced that, and we got our 1,500 people. Now, that's enough to form a political party in Australia. And that's loyalty from readers. That's people paying attention and wanting Australia to be a better place. And I think IA is the only publication I can think of in Australia that actually fosters those ideals.
There aren't very many publications, whether they're online, whether they're printed, which there's not many anymore anyway, but that news publications, that is, that actually, on a consistent basis, simply present the truth and without vested interests and without always towing a particular party line or a particular point of view. I think yes, we do have positions on various issues, but what we try to do is basically inform and allow you know we respect our readers and allow them to make up their minds about what's actually happened, not trying to tell them what we think they should think. And I think that's a huge thing because in this, the way things are moving and the way, I'm probably going off on a tangent a
you're
little bit
going,
there.
Michelle. I like what you say.
I think that, the way things have changed, and they've changed drastically in the last little while, and they've affected certainly independent Australia, and I'm sure we're not alone in that. Um, things such as billionaires who also happen to be media barons, um, such as, Facebook, Mark Zuckerberg,
Elon Musk,
yeah,
Mark
Elon
Zuckerberg. Yeah.
Musk, and so on and so forth, um, who have changed the algorithms so that everyone is fed a particular, in a particular direction, so that our posts, our information isn't available freely in people's feeds. Um, that's one of the things. One of the other things that's affecting people's ability to access impartial information. Well, not necessarily impartial. We might actually have a particular point of view at times, but we don't offer it as though it was fact.
No.
We offer the facts and possibly analysis based on facts. And I think, the whole sort of AI And the ChatGPT situation at the moment is that Google has also changed its algorithms. And what that means is that where you could once, Google an event or a political occurrence or, what have you to try and find out information about something, you will now be directed in the first instance to ChatGPT, be given an answer, not necessarily follow up after that, no reason to actually read the article to find out what actually happened. And that's very disturbing because most of the time, or quite often, in fact, ChatGPT is also inaccurate. So people are being
They
fed.
fudge, don't they? They if they don't know what it is, they just make it up, it
Yeah.
seems.
And
From
so
our
people are,
analysis, I think.
yeah, they're fed misinformation, they're fed disinformation. We know that a large portion, not all, I'm not going to tar them all with the same brush, but a large proportion of the mainstream media is biased. It has been for many years in this country, and really only giving the perspective of a very small number of people,
Yeah.
from the lens of a very small number of people.
Certain stakeholders that they have, I would suggest, their proprietors and, some of
Correct.
their companies.
Yeah. And that worldview is presented as truth
Fact.
and fact. And, nothing could be further from the truth. And I think that's why I believe Independent Australia is so important, because we've really tried to maintain that integrity and simply tell it as it is. Again, very radical.
A very good example is Independent Australia, which is close to unique for constantly keeping up with change and constantly maintaining a following, while the people involved never lose their head. I don't know anybody who goes off and tries to propagandize or go beyond setting up a really good story that sells itself. So it sounds like an old-fashioned value, but remembering some of the best lessons were taught at Athens University more than, let's say, 2,500 years ago. When it comes to freedom and truth, well, you need those for the future. Keep them going.
I think one of the things that really always appealed to me about IA was its diversity of views and opinions, and the way it draws from its audience copy and ideas as well. Because a lot of people, people contribute to IA that aren't necessarily mainstream journalists, but they will know what they're talking about, and probably a lot more than mainstream journalists will know what they're talking about. And so I think in many cases, IA is more accurate and with more depth than anything you're ever going to read in a newspaper, because it's the person themselves, people who know what they're talking about, who are writing those articles and doing those things. And as a consequence of that as well, you get a diversity of views. It's not just we're going down that alley and that's our Murdoch's or Fairfax's ideological view this week. That's what we're doing.
Yeah.
It's a broad church of views that is not driven down one. It's driven by its readers rather than being driven by any on top control or ideology.
We do have a progressive viewpoint.
We do.
And so whilst we tell a story, it is coming from, a progressive viewpoint, which means that we actually want society to progress, not be stuck in the way it was in the past.
That's right.
But be more equitable, more democratic, more people-oriented, be a better society. That is our perspective.
That's right.
And that's one of the things that I've been unashamed about in telling people. But the point is, we're one of the very few publications, I think, if not the only one, that makes sure that, you may not hold this perspective, but at least you know that our facts are correct, or at least you know where we got our facts from.
Correct.
So if we've actually told you something that is incorrect, we have at least got it from a credible source.
The fourth estate, as we know it, is more at risk now than it was when I joined IA 10 years ago.
Mm.
And I feel that that's, you know, we have a responsibility as journalists, but also as a society to make it easier for people to access information, you know, and facts. And I think that's changing drastically, and that's very disturbing.
But, you know, seriously, we keep all our stories above a paywall. Some of the other things is where I think one of the only two publications in Australia which allow people to actually reproduce
Yes,
every
that's
part of
true.
our article, uh, for their own publication, which is important in
And
terms
once
of.
again, excuse me, Dave, Australia, you're welcome. Continue.
You're welcome. The other part of that is the Creative Commons aspect means that things like universities and schools can reproduce their stuff, which a lot of what we do is actually educational because it's actually factual,
Yeah.
right? They can use it in their classes, they can use it in their courses. This is why we do it. We don't
Yep.
make any money out of that because we allow our license to be freely used with proper attribution. We don't need to do that. We could be like everybody else. 60,000 is a fair whack of money. We do need to get at least half of that amount to be able to keep it going
Yep.
because it really depends on whether you think the public, whether it is worthwhile in keeping going, because frankly, I haven't got that much out of it myself. I've actually not received a wage since I was 39. I'm 55 now, and Independent Australia is continuing. I do it because I think it's important for Australia. That's why I do it. That's the only reason I do it. There's no other reason why I would do it
Thank
because
you, Dave.
I think it's important. So please support Independent Australia because I think it's important for our polity. It's important for our democracy. We are actually revealing the truth that the mainstream media otherwise avoid or maybe purposely ignore. So I put it to
Absolutely.
you, support us, please.